We welcome Renu Muthoo as our webcast presenter today. Renu will be teaching us the new and enhanced features in the Autodesk 3ds Max 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide. Renu, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Corinne. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webcast session. So in this session today, I will be updating you with what's new and what's enhanced in the Autodesk 3ds Max 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide that I completed in July this year. So I will not only be updating you with the new and enhanced features of the 3ds Max 2016 software that were incorporated in the training guide, but also this year using the instructional design principles, I have made the content of the training guide more precise and relevant without sacrificing the quality and accuracy of the training guide. So for those of you who have not attended any of my previous webcast sessions, let me introduce myself. As Corinne mentioned, I am Renu Muthoo, and I'm an instructional designer with ASCENT. My main work here is to write and update the courseware material, including the training guides for various Autodesk software products such as AutoCAD, AutoCAD Electrical, and AutoCAD Mechanical. And then I also create courseware material on the Autodesk visualization software products that include the Autodesk 3ds Max, Autodesk Showcase, and VRED Professional. I will be showcasing the new and enhanced features of 3ds Max 2016 software that are included in our training guide with the help of the PowerPoint presentations that you can see on the screen. And then after every few PowerPoint slides, I will be also demonstrating the new and enhanced features in the Autodesk 3ds Max 2016 software. So let's get started. So today I'll be focusing on those new and enhanced features of 3ds Max 2016 software that I have incorporated in our Fundamentals Training Guide. In addition to these features, I have also modified the look and feel of the training guide to make it easy to learn from and also easy to teach from. So I'll be taking you through those changes, and it will be useful for the experienced users, the new users, and the trainers as well. So first, it is the single 3ds Max software version. So as you know, till now, there were two versions that were available for 3ds Max. One was 3ds Max, and the other was 3ds Max Design. So it used to be kind of confusing in the past as to which version or flavor of Max was best suited for an industry. So choosing the right version was kind of confusing. So with 2016, the two versions of Max have now been combined into one software product to make it easier for users. So as you know, the lines between different industries is blurring these days. And so having a single version is just great. I really like this idea of having a single version of the software. In the latest 3ds Max, there is something for everyone. So it can work efficiently for the architectural industry or a user who is using it in the gaming industry, or also for those users who are in the media and entertainment industry. So anybody, no matter what industry, can use the latest 3ds Max software. So what they have done in the previous, the 3ds Max Design had a few additional features like civil view, lighting analysis, and A360 cloud rendering. That has been included in the new 3ds Max now. So let's get ahead and start with the new features. So a lot of features have been added or modified to make it easier and more user-friendly to work with. So when you launch the software, the welcome screen is displayed. So it was available with 2015 as well, but this year it has been enhanced. So as you can see on the screen, this is the welcome screen that you get when you launch, and it has three panels that you can have at the bottom: Learn, Start, and Extend. So the actual change, the new thing that they have put in the new latest 3ds Max 2016 version is in the Start panel. So when you open the Start panel, new startup templates have been provided for creating a new empty scene. These templates contain built-in settings like rendering, environment, lighting units, etc., etc. So which are optimum for that specific type of scene. So this enables you to quickly and easily create a new scene. Now there are 5 of those templates, which are the standard templates that have been provided. So I'll go into the software and show you how these startup templates, where you can find them and how they work. So as you can see on the screen, this is my 3ds Max 2016 software already loaded, and I have already launched it. So I don't have the welcome screen right now, but I can actually get it from help and welcome screen. So this is the first thing that you will see when you launch the software. Unless you have this show the welcome screen as startup, this one, if you have cleared that option, then it is not going to show up when you launch the 3ds Max software. So there are these 5 preset startup templates that you can use to easily create a new scene. So for example, you want to create an architectural outdoor 3 p.m. scene, you can use this template. It is already preset, all the settings have been preset in there, which are optimum for this scene. So you can, not only can you use all those 5 predefined or preset templates, you can also create your own templates. So which can come in handy. For example, if you have a team that's working on a same project and you first start the project and you set up a template, you can always share that template with other people in your team. So for example, if it's a new user and they just want to get a feel of how 3ds Max works, they can just open one of those templates by selecting that template and then using this button here, new, using a selected template, and it opens a scene which is preset with all the different settings. You can also modify those, like tweak all the different settings and then save it as your own template. You can do that using this Open Template Manager here, and then you can set different, you can tweak all the settings and save it as a new template for you to use later on. So these are the startup templates. So this is a real good tool that they have put in. And as you know, in previous version of 3ds Max, we already had the Learn panel, and it's a good way of starting for new users. It gives you different videos for getting started with 3ds Max, and also links you to different other sites for like the YouTube channel for seeing and learning 3ds Max. And the Extend panel, it has, because as all of you know, that the 3ds Max community is huge, and if you have any concern, if you have any issue, there is definitely a reason that you can think that in the area or in any other community, it might have already been answered, or you can raise your concerns in there and it will get answered. So this is, you can directly use this page, like this panel of the startup screen, to connect to the community, 3ds Max community. So let's get back with our new and enhanced features. And so the next slide, this is the new feature in 2016, are the design workspaces. So what they have done is this year, different design workspace ribbons have been provided that contain commonly used commands and features that are grouped together in tabs. So these workspaces follow a logical workflow from creating a scene from start to end. And this means that the tools that are grouped into a task are based on the workflow method. This gives an easy access to existing tools, as you don't have to look for them in various ribbons and menus. So let me go back and I'll show you the design workspaces. This is a real handy tool. And all you have to do is in the workspace drop-down menu, you have to click on this design standard, and it'll take a moment. And here you go. There are tabs, and all the different commands, the commonly used commands, are grouped together under those tabs. So for example, you're getting started with a new scene. Whatever you will need, the commands, you don't actually have to go and search for them in the menus or in the command panel or in the application menu or ribbon and so on and so forth, but you can find all of them here. So if you want to link a file, you want to maybe merge some objects from another file, or you can import a file. So most of them, you can also open a new file, create a new file, or open a new file. So all the relevant commands have been put together here. So it will let you get started from the beginning to the end of a project. So for example, at the end, you want to set up the lighting and rendering. So all the relevant tools that are commonly used for lighting and rendering are in this tab. So it makes it really easy to create a scene from start to end. And you don't actually have to search for all different kinds of tools that you commonly use. So similarly for materials, if you open that, you have all the different commands listed in there in the workspace. So this is a real great thing to be having added to the new software in the 2016 version of the software. So let's go back to default and put it back to default, and let's back to our PowerPoint. Now the next new and enhanced feature that we have covered in our training guide is the Scene Explorer. So Scene Explorer is a great tool that has been provided. So it is there in all the objects that are present in your scene are listed in this Scene Explorer. I really use it very often. Now, it was already introduced in 2015, but or maybe even 1 year before that, but it was at a very basic level. And this year, they have done so many enhancements to this Scene Explorer. It's really great to be using it. If you remember, in the past few versions, we used to have that Select from Scene dialog box. And we used to use that for selecting objects or, sorting them and things like that. This is actually the same thing, but it is in a modeless form. So now what modeless means is that you can leave it open and at the same time interactively work in the viewports. You don't have to complete a command. Like for example, you can select an object here and it will interactively show in the viewport. Similarly, you can do other actions or modifications directly in the Scene Explorer, and interactively you will see that happening in the viewports. So the actions and modifications that you can do in the Scene Explorer are like selecting, sorting, filtering, renaming, hiding, freezing, and reorganizing. And one more thing is that it's a tree listing of objects in the form and shape of hierarchy. So for example, you have grouped certain objects and placed them under one main master object. It will show you that. And if you select the main node, it will select the complete objects in there. This is the Scene Explorer. Before I go in to the software and show you the Scene Explorer, I will proceed with another slide and then show them together. So selection preview. This is new in 2016, and this is a really handy tool to have. So what it does is that if you hover your cursor over an object, it displays as a yellow outline for that object. So this enables you to easily determine the object that's going to be selected. So the selected object, once you click and make it selected, it displays as a blue outline. So that's the differentiation between the two. Like the hovered over, like the preview of an object is a yellow outline, has a yellow outline, whereas a actually selected object has a blue outline. So it comes in handy if you have a huge, big scene with tons of objects in there. So when you hover your cursor over an object and you see that which object is being previewed. If that is the object, you go ahead and select it. If that is not the object, you can simply hover your cursor over another area in that another area to see the relevant object that you want to select. So this is a really handy tool. So I will go back into my software and I will show both these, the Scene Explorer as well as the selection preview in there. So let me open the Scene Explorer. It's Tools and Scene Explorer. And here you go. So it's very similar to Select from Scene dialog box, which we used to have, which we're used to selecting objects from. That dialog box, Select from Scene dialog box, is very similar to that, but as I said before, it's a modeless dialog box. So it lists all the objects. So for example, you go display none, so nothing is displayed. This is the toolbar for the Scene Explorer, so you can see all the geometry objects are listed right here. So there are tons of objects because this was a model that I got from Revit, and so all of these objects were broken down. So naturally in Scene Explorer, what I can reorganize all the objects. I can also sort them in a more logical manner. I can sort them like that, and it's so that it is easier for us to find the objects later on, because usually if we have huge big scenes like this one, it's very hard to find the objects. So even if you know just the name of the object, you can even put it in the Find edit box up there and say, for example, you want to look for the camera, you can say C, and it'll show you, actually, you know what, that's not a good, and it shows the objects that have C in there. So for example, I want the doors listed, so I said D and it listed all the doors in there. So you can do that this way. You can search and sort. You can also do another way is by saying display none. It displays nothing, and then for example, I have to select the camera that is in the scene right now. I can select the cameras and this displays there is only one camera in there, and there is a camera and the target, and I can select the camera. And once I do that, it selects it in the viewport right here. So that's how easy it is to find, to sort, to organize the objects using the Scene Explorer. It's a great tool to use. I'll also show you actually the Select from Scene dialog box, and this is what I meant. This is what I used to use before we got the Scene Explorer to select objects. But in this case, even though it's very similar to the Scene Explorer, if you select an object, you cannot see the actual selection in the viewports. You have to hit OK to come out of the dialog box, and then it will show you that this particular double block light pole has been selected. So it is really difficult, and I think this dialog box will eventually become redundant. For my sake, it has completely become redundant for me. I use the Scene Explorer all the time now. So I'll just cancel this. Now the second one that I explained to you was the preview selection, and this is what I meant by preview selection. For example, I want to select the windows, so I go and hover the cursor over there. It highlights, it gives me an outline, yellow outline, and it also gives me a tooltip saying that this is the object that I'm about to select. So if this is the object, this is the right object, I go ahead, click, and select, and that has a blue outline now. So similarly, maybe this wall, whatever you want to select. So it is a great tool to see what you're selecting. Also the preview of whether you want, if it is distracting, the preview is distracting you because you keep on moving your cursor over them. You can control their settings through the preference settings dialog box. So if we open the preference settings dialog box in the viewports tab, here you have that selection preview highlights. So you can either have an overlay of the preview or the outline, which is presently it is outline. Similarly for selection also, you can either have overlay or outline or none for these two too. So what overlay means is that it gives a transparent yellowish hue to the whole complete object and it has an outline as well because both are selected. Let's see how it looks. So if I go in here, let's see one of those light poles, and I hover the cursor and see it has a hue. The whole object has a yellow hue, which means the overlays been switched on. I mean to say, it's active. And then I can select, and it has a blue outline showing that it's a selected object. For selection also, you can have an overlay or just an outline. So these were the two things that I wanted to show, and then let's get back with our PowerPoint. So the next one is this tool that's called Select and Place and Select and Rotate. This was introduced last year in 2015, but this has been enhanced this year with the Select and Rotate thing. It's another great tool to have for the select, along with the the transform tools like the select and scale, select and move, and select and rotate. With that, having this one is a really great one to have. What it does is it enables you to locate the end position and rotate an object with respect to the surface of another object. So if let me go in and show you how this one works. So let me go in. For example, I want to create a nut and bolt system for this light pole right here, the base of the light pole. So let me go and quickly create an object. So let me create a cylinder, a tiny cylinder right here, and just have a hexagon, so only 6 sides. So let me go in there and show you that I created a hexagon. So it's right here in the perspective view, and also maybe just have one high segment and maybe just, okay. So for example, this is one hexagon that I created. This is the nut, and maybe I want to have a bolt now with it, and I'll create another cylinder right here besides it. And that's a good enough size, but let's make it more roundish so that we can differentiate between the two. So it's right there. And now we want to place this one on top of this the hex nut that we created for it. So let me show you in perspective view. So let me show you in perspective by, okay, so it's right here. So that's the nut, that's the nut, and this is the bolt for it. So now if I select the bolt and I want to place it on top of this nut, so what I can do is easily, instead of using the move tool, then finding the exact height of this object, then moving it and placing it there. So the select and place is an easier way of doing it. So if you click on select and place, and when you hover your cursor, it shows you the select and place cursor. It's not a move cursor. So with the move, if you use the move command, see the cursor, there is a slight difference between the two. And then holding it, you can just move it and it automatically, see how it does it? Maybe so if I use it and then move it, simply move it, it automatically goes on top of this. And it can go along the sides as well once you move. So it finds another surface and it moves along the other surfaces. So you don't need to know the exact height of the object, or if you're placing something on the side, you don't need to rotate it and then place it. It just finds another surface and it gets like constrained to that surface. So this is an easy way of doing the select and place. And also, there are different modes to it. If you right click on it, it opens a dialog box, and you know, right now it's selecting it based on the Z axis. If you turn it into X, see what happens suddenly. It rotates it, and then what happens is that only half of the object is visible. Half is inside the other object, the surface that it finds out. So if you want the base should touch the top of the other object, you go into pillow mode and then just move it up and it automatically moves it. So similarly, if I go back and then it finds it and automatically places it. You can also have the rotate thing. This automatically changes the tools to select and rotate. If you notice there is select and place and select and rotate there for inside of the select and place. And if this rotate button, because the dialog box is the same for both of them, so it rotates it along its axis, the object. So that's basically the select and place tool, and we can close the dialog box. So that's the select and place tool that has been enhanced this year. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Now, the rendering options. So the rendering options, this render setup dialog box has been enhanced this year. So we have the target location up here, which tells us where the rendering is going to be happen. So production rendering mode, iterative, these were already present in the previous versions. But this one, A360 cloud rendering mode, it's new in 3ds Max. It was present in the Autodesk 3ds Max Design 2015. They had included this Autodesk 360 Cloud Rendering mode, but now they have added it to the Max because of the consolidation of the two flavors of Max. So all these tabs, the target, the preset, the render, you can choose the render from here, and view to render, you can choose which viewport to render. You can choose all of them right here in the render at top of the render setup dialog box. This is the enhancement they had done to quickly and easily use those tools. You don't have to go into one of the tabs to find them. And then the other thing that has been enhanced is on the next slide is the iRay renderer. So this NVIDIA iRay renderer, it has been enhanced this year to support render elements. So as you already know, it supports sky portal objects, it supports translucency, glossy refractions, and it's very physically accurate renderer. And because it renders by tracing the light paths. It's slightly different from mental ray because mental ray, it renders in buckets, but iRay renderer, it progressively refines the image until it has completed the render. And also iRay renderer, the setup is really minimum and it's simple. It's like a point and shoot camera, and it's really very simple to use. So I'll show you those in the software, show you the different rendering options that have been enhanced in the render setup dialog box. So right here you have all those target. So this target is really new this year, and they have added this A360 cloud rendering mode in there. So this is really useful because it makes it really easy to render on the cloud. You don't need to have a lot of like specialized hardware in your computer, because you can simply move it onto the cloud and render there. And also you can share it among easily share it among all your colleagues or people who are working on the same team. So that's the one thing that has been added this year. And also for the iRay renderer, let's choose one of the renderers here. So we go and choose NVIDIA iRay. And then in the renderer, first of all, there is this, it's time-based, so you can specify how many hours you want to render, or you can also give the iterations, how many iterations you want to render, or you can have unlimited and stop anytime you want. But this is specifically new this year, which is the render elements. So what it does is, in isolation, you can have 19 elements which can be rendered in isolation. So for example, there is this lighting personnel who is working on the rendering, and he wants to really tweak the lighting and just render the lighting settings. So he can just take that in isolation. The geometry can be in isolation, and then so on and so forth. And you can have specific renderers by rendering those render elements. So you can have up to 19 elements that you can render separately in iRay. So this is the new enhancement in the render setup dialog box. That's the new enhancement. Let's go back and see what's new. Now the key camera sequencer. Again, this camera sequencer is also a new thing. So initially, a few versions of 3ds Max had the state sets already in there. Now they have added the camera sequencer, which is the sequencer thing here, the tab in the state sets dialog box. So what it does is it sets up an animation using multiple camera views. So it gives you once you start the sequencer view, it activates a window along the bottom of the screen. So here you can see the sequencer window, and it has different cameras. So this thing is really handy for the really creative animator out there. So what you can do is you can manipulate, you can trim those camera sequences, animated camera sequences. You can edit them. You can drag and drop at different places. You can move them around. So the actual data still remains intact. The actual animation data, whatever has been animated, remains intact. But these camera views can be modified. They can be moved around. So you can get creative with this. So it's a way of telling your story animation using all the different camera sequence animations. So it's very handy for the animators out there who want to get creative and use the camera sequencer. So the next one is the physical camera. This is big this year. They have added a physical camera which has the properties of a real-world camera. So, those of you who are really well versed with the camera settings, like the focal length and the shutter speed, and also the aperture size, clipping planes, depth of field, and blurring effects and all that stuff, that can be used using this physically based camera. This camera, you can control the exposure control, the perspective control, the distortion, the depth of field, motion blur, so on and so forth. it's very, it's physically based camera, and you can set all the different settings as you would do in a real world setting to a camera. And so it's really handy for those camera people who want to experiment with their camera settings and so on and so forth. So I will definitely show you where this physical camera. So it's in the Create panel and the camera, and you have this physical tab here. Using this tab, you can set up a physical camera. So let's say zoom extent all, and then maybe I can put in a camera here. So using this, and this is a physical camera, and all the settings right here, the physical camera settings, you can use them, and it's very similar to what your camera is. So you can tweak the focal length, you can play around with the aperture, you can also have the focus, you can change the focus, the shutter speed, and the exposure. You can also change the exposure. You can set also the depth of field properties to create a blurring effect in areas of image that are out of focus, for example. And you can also set clipping planes, and you can modify the near and far environment ranges with that. So, so you can get creative with the physical camera in the new 2016. And then the next slide, what's new, is again the exposure control in the environments and effects dialog box, where you would control the exposure control. You have the option for physical camera exposure control. You can play around with that and see how it works. The different, and it has the different settings of the physical camera exposure control as well. So then the next is just the civil and lighting analysis. So now, because of the two flavors of Max are now merged, so all the additional features that were in Max design are now available in 2016 Max version as well. So, these are the two of the very useful architectural-based features, and both civil view and lighting analysis. So for our training guide, although it's not new for our training guide, but I still thought I would mention it for all those Max users who were not using Max design before. So both these features are already present in the training guide, and they have been just modified as per whatever has been the modifications this year. So civil view, what you can do is it gives you an interoperability with the civil programs, such as AutoCAD Civil 3D. So if you want to use a large area landscape and roadways, so you can directly get it from using the Civil View feature of 3ds Max. So it uses the Civil 3D, which is the VSP 3D file, and directly brings in the roadways, all the different landscaping you can bring in from the AutoCAD Civil 3D. And as per for the lighting analysis, you can set different light meters and tweak them, and then calculate all the lighting analysis. The lighting analysis in 3ds Max, it can also be used if you want to take up the certification, the LEED certification. It can help you there, the lighting analysis in 3ds Max. So in our training guide, in the 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide, we have both the Civil View and a practice for that Civil View, as well as we have all the content and all the information available for lighting analysis as well, and there is a practice also for lighting analysis. So it's all for all those new users who are going to use the training guide. They will see this, but it is being included with 3ds Max now. It was only available in 3ds Max Design till last year. So the next is the general layout changes. As I told you before, I used many of the instructional design properties or that I use them and to create a new kind of a layout which is much easier for both the users as well as the instructors. So the changes that I have brought into the layout of the training guide, 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide, is the introductory paragraphs. I focused learning objectives, and we have the bulleted lists now instead of having those big explanatory paragraphs of content. They are in the form of bulleted lists. More captions have been added to the figures, so that you can easily, for those graphic viewers who understand the graphic pictures more than reading the paragraphs and content, they can just have a look at the captions and see what we are talking about. The practices have been updated throughout to show the new and enhanced features of the 2016 software. And relevant and to the point information has been given. So what that means is that I have tried to take all the redundant information that was present in our training guide, or the duplicate information that was there has been taken out, and it has been made more, like I've tried to make it more succinct and more to the point. That way, what I have been able to do this year, if those people who have already used the training guide, in 2015 it was a two-part course, like there were two books, and like it was because it was very bulky. And this year we have made it into a single training guide without sacrificing the content, the important content that is necessary. Because I have tried to take away all that wordiness, the duplications, and all the redundancies, and it's become more relevant, more efficient, and more to the point information. So I will show you a few slides as to what I mean by changes, general layout changes. So if you can see on the right, this is the 2015, the way it was. So the introductory paragraph as well as the introductory those learning objectives, they were just the section headings that was pulled in there. So now they are more task-based. So after reading the introductory paragraph in 2016 training guide, you will be able to easily understand what we will be accomplishing after we have completed the chapter. So similarly, all those learning objectives are also task-based, and they're focused towards what is being accomplished in the chapter. So this is the new changed look and feel, and this is the older one. Also that we have all changes, as I told you, mentioned before. The worded explanatory long paragraphs have been broken up to make it easier for you to understand and learn. So more bullet points have been given in 2016. And also captions have been added. So last year it was just a plain image, and it didn't say much about the image, what we are trying to explain or what you're trying to learn in seeing that image. So now you can see along with it, we have the captions, and you can see, okay, we are talking about the command panel here, and which has the modifier list in there. We have the modifier stack in there, and we have the parameters in here, and that's what the captions have been added throughout the book. So to summarize everything, it's a single version. I told you about, gave you information about the single version of 3ds Max 2016 software. Also, what the new features in the 3ds Max 2016 software that are incorporated in our training guide. Also, the enhanced features in the 3ds Max 2016 that have been again incorporated in our training guide, and the layout changes to the Autodesk 3ds Max 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide. Now, the 3ds Max 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide that I was talking about is already available. Like other training guides, this training guide has an AOTG branding. This training guide has a typical ASCENT layout where each chapter has the learning objectives to help you understand what you will be learning. Also, at the end of each chapter, the chapter review questions are provided to quickly review and refresh what was learned in the preceding chapters. At the end of the training guide, an appendix is provided, and that will help you to locate the exam objectives in the 3ds Max 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide, and that will also help you, to prepare for the Autodesk 3ds Max Certified exam. There is the instructor tools that's available, which can be used along with the training guide. It provides you with the answers for the chapter review questions and also gives you the suggested timing that is required to complete each chapter in the training guide. Now the product lineup. These are the list of available titles in the visualization lineup that is offered by ASCENT. We have the 3ds Max 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide, which is released. Also in the visualization lineup is we have the Navisworks 2016 Essentials, which is released as well, and the Showcase 2016 Fundamentals. I believe it's at the printer and it will be available in the forthcoming few days. So you can have the Showcase Fundamentals 2016 Fundamentals Training Guide as well. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Corinne, and she's going to tell you a little bit more.
Excellent. Thank you, Renu. So I just want to let you know that all these books are available in the following formats. We have a printed guide. We call that our student guide. We have ebooks, and as Renu mentioned, we have instructor tools. Did you mention what was covered in the instructor tools, Renu?
Yeah, I did. I did already tell them. It's the answers to the question review questions, and it also gives you a suggested timing and how the workflow for the instructors to help them in, maintaining a good rhythm to teaching each chapter.
Okay, great. We had someone who was asking. I just wanted to make sure. And someone did ask if this was available in ebook, and as I just mentioned, yes, it is available in ebook. So the nice thing about the ebook is that you do get that immediately upon purchase. You can download it up to 4 different devices, 2 computers, 2 mobile devices. You can make notes and highlights in the ebook. You can sync it to other users who are using the same ebook as you. So, and of course it saves on shipping costs because you do get that right away. So some nice features there. It really depends on how you want to learn. And you can purchase any of those, any of our guides and any of the formats of our guides on our ASCENT eStore, which is listed here, ascentestore.com. If you're familiar with our website, which is ascented.com, you could also go there as well. I have all of the courses, the training guides, the ebooks, the printed guides are all linked directly on our website, directly to our eStore, so you could go and purchase from there. And I also like to take this time to always tell people or encourage people to follow us on social media, because I do post all the latest training guides that are posted on there. We're on Twitter and we're on LinkedIn. And in particular, I'd like to tell people now about following us, encourage you to follow us on social media, because we are having a Twitter contest. This is our first one that we're having. So it's Tweet to Win. We just want to hear from our users and find out where people are using ASCENT training guides. So the hashtag is ASCENT Where in the World. And if you type that in, you'll see some of the things that I've tweeted out there, and people have been responding. So everyone who responds and tells us where they're located using ASCENT training materials gets automatically entered into a draw. So we're going to be giving away a free ebook or video enhanced ebook or a printed book, whatever you prefer, any book of your choice. So you get a free book and also a $50 gift card. So just for letting us know where in the world you're using ASCENT courseware. So I started a map here. So it's a little hard to see here because it's kind of small. I had to make it fit on the screen. But we have the ASCENT staff, which are located in blue. Most of us are in Canada or the US. And our ASCENT users who have responded so far. So we've heard from people in Australia, over in the UK, over in Dubai, different parts of the States. I don't think we've heard from any users in Canada yet. So that would be great to hear from people here as well. That runs until the end of the month, so do make sure to follow us. And if you, by the way, if you post a photo of yourself or a photo of you, the book that you're using, that gets you double the entries. You get 2 entries into the contest. So thank you very much for your time today, and thank you, Renu, for your time.
Thank you. So